Col and I were blessed with 3 days and 2 nights at beautiful Hogsback in the Eastern Cape. Thank you, Andrew, for this lovely holiday. Unforeseen circumstances caused us to leave early and travel via Seymour on a minor road, but the sunrise views and sky were a joy to behold. As we arrived, we were reminded that Hogsback is Cape Parrot territory. We were hosted by Graham at the Nibelheim self-catering cottage, cosily set in a beautiful garden. Lovely to have morning coffee on the deck and watch the bird life. On arrival we saw a crowned hornbill, Nijna turacos hopping about in the trees picking berries, and we watched the Cape parrots fly by. Only one stayed long enough for a photo. They chatter noisily as they pass, but seem to be rather reclusive in the forest. Also a few times we saw African olive pigeons. Our first visit was to the Arboretum. On the short walk from the car park there was a great view of the 3 Hogsbacks. The Arboretum is a peaceful garden with an assortment of trees and plants, the gurgle of fresh streams and a series of walking paths. It's a quiet place to chill and meditate on one of the many benches, or stroll around quietly contemplating nature. The walk follows a stream over bridges and tidy pathways, going towards the 39 Steps waterfall. Along the way we saw an industrious dung beetle, lots of dragonflies, and near the falls was a busy mountain wagtail. There were hints of what was to come as we got closer to the falls, and the sound of water got louder. With a huff and a puff we made it to the 39 Steps waterfalls. There had been good recent rains and the falls were flowing strongly. They looked beautiful. After catching our breath and a selfie to prove we were actually there, we started heading back. Cole went back to the car and found a coffee shop, but I decided to take a hike to the Ketelsveld Falls. At first the way was along a forestry road. I encountered some unattended cattle, but they were happy to continue their own program as I strolled by. This part of the hike was to the lower view of the falls, which was actually rather distant. I hiked on through the forest a bit, cooler in the shade and babbling streams everywhere. A long time since my last hike of any sort, and this was most enjoyable. However, I seemed to be going away from the falls, so I backtracked and took the path to the top viewpoint. It was rather a steep climb, hence the panting, but well worth it for the views. As one approaches the falls, it looks like a regular gentle stream. Then it abruptly tips over the edge. You can stand at the edge next to the stream, but not if you suffer from acrophobia or vertigo, that's for sure. It was a long, hot hike back, much more than I'm used to now. As I passed the Arboretum entrance, a group of baboons was crossing the road. I let them all cross before continuing. So that was it for that day. On this map we can see the Arboretum, the 39 Steps Falls and the Ketelsveld Falls, amongst several others. For the rest of the afternoon we just relaxed at the cottage. The hydrangeas were still pretty, although they'd passed their best, and we just enjoyed the flowers and the views from the garden. The next morning we drove to the entrance of the Madonna and Child Falls, and I walked down the steep pathway to the falls. Fortunately there were boardwalks and railings, but they did rather need some maintenance. This waterfall was also flowing strongly. It was mid-morning and the sun was angled just above the top. With the sunlight and the substantial spray, the droplets on the camera lens caused the light spots. The trees and bushes were dense and I clambered over the slippery rocks to try and get a better angle. I nearly did whitewater rafting without the raft. From there we drove back to Hogsback village, stopping to take a few photos on the way. We decided to go to the Edge Mountain Retreat for coffee and cake. On the way this baboon was sitting in the road. His buddies were shaking the tree above vigorously and he was enjoying the falling chestnuts. Some samango monkeys were on hand in case there was something for them. The Edge Retreat had a stunning garden and great views from the restaurant. One could see the iconic Hogsback mountain from the garden. A bulbul perched on a nearby tree displaying his catch. He seemed too proud to actually eat it. After coffee we wandered through the garden to the labyrinth, then on a short walk to the viewpoint. Cole just couldn't get enough of the hydrangeas. There were so many of them, certainly not the lone hydrangea. Next we found the little church St. Patrick's on the hill. Very quaint, though it had been completely rebuilt in 2010 after it had almost completely burnt down. It is really attractive inside and out. There is a bell tower and a prayer walk in the garden. A stunning place for peaceful meditation. After we had looked around, we were just happy to sit in the garden for a while and enjoy the tranquility. In the evening we popped into the Arboretum Hotel for a drink. We sat on the deck and watched the troop of samango monkeys. This bloke had got into one of the rooms and was enjoying stolen sugar. This was our last good view of the Hogsback. The next day was grey and drizzly. We had breakfast at a great little coffee shop and made our way home, tired and very happy.